Welcome to my channel, and today I want to share a story that will take you on a journey of kindness, courage, and the power of truth. This is a story about a young billionaire who discovers the hidden struggles of his past, a quiet woman who waited patiently for justice, and how one simple act of compassion can change lives forever. It's a tale of destiny, family, and the lessons we often overlook in our daily lives. So let's start and see how a single $10 can change everything. No one expected the groom to freeze at the altar. Not inside a cathedral glowing with white flowers, silk gowns, and flashing cameras. Not when the vows were moments away and destiny seemed already sealed. Yet everything stopped the moment an elderly woman stepped forward from the crowd. Her clothes were worn, her steps were slow, her hands trembled with age. Security rushed toward her, ready to remove her before she could speak. But she reached the groom first. She leaned close to Kwame Ndlovu and whispered 6 quiet words that drained the color from his face. The billionaire's hands shook, the cathedral fell silent, and in that silence, a truth waited that would shatter everything he believed about his past. Long before white flowers filled the cathedral, before tailored suits, luxury cars, and whispered rumors of a billionaire's wedding, Kwame Ndlovu lived by one unbreakable habit. Every morning, no matter how full his schedule, he drove himself to work. No driver, no security convoy, just him, the road, and his thoughts. And every morning at exactly 7:10 a.m., his car slowed near the old bus terminal on Cairo Road in Lusaka. That was where he first noticed her. Mama Thandeka sat on a cracked concrete block near the bus stop. Her back was slightly bent, her movements careful. A small wooden tray rested on her knees, holding lottery tickets, 2 packets of biscuits, and nothing more. She never shouted, never chased anyone. She simply waited. The first day, Kwame barely noticed her. His mind was buried in contracts, steel shipments, and figures that refused to sleep. His phone rang, and he pulled over near the curb to find a better signal. That was when a soft voice reached his open window. "Sir, please." Kwame turned. The woman stood slowly, leaning on her bad leg. Her clothes were faded but clean. A dull blue scarf wrapped her hair. Her eyes were tired but steady. "I don't need much," she said. "Just $10. Kwame frowned. People asked him for money all the time. Security favors, business proposals, donations worth thousands. But this woman asked for almost nothing. "Just 10? He asked. She nodded. "That is all I need today." Something about the word "today" unsettled him. Kwame reached into his wallet, handed her a crisp bill and nodded once. No questions, no speeches. She didn't bow or praise him loudly. She only said, "Thank you, sir. May God remember you." Kwame drove away, telling himself it meant nothing. The next morning she was there again. Same spot, same tray. "Good morning, sir," she said gently. "Please, $10. Kwame hesitated. "Didn't I give you money yesterday?" "Yes," she replied calmly. "And I was grateful." "Then why ask again?" "Because yesterday is finished." That answer stayed with him longer than it should have. He gave her the money. On the 3rd day, she didn't ask at all. She only looked at him, and without knowing why, Kwame reached for his wallet before she spoke. $10. Every morning, rain or sun, silence or traffic, Mama Thandeka was there. Always asking for the same amount. Never more, never less. After 2 weeks, Kwame noticed something else. She never spent the money near the bus terminal. Sometimes he parked across the road and watched quietly. She waited until he was gone, then walked slowly to a small roadside pharmacy. Other days she bought bread. Occasionally she paid a bus conductor, even though she usually walked. No alcohol, no waste. One morning, curiosity pushed him further. He followed her at a distance. She entered a public hospital, crowded and worn, the kind people avoided unless they had no choice. Kwame watched her pull out crumpled bills and count carefully. $10. That night, sleep refused to come. His thoughts turned to his mother, Nomusa Ndlovu. He had not thought of her like this in years. Nomusa had raised him alone, selling vegetables by day and cleaning offices at night. When sickness drained her strength and money ran out, she too had stood near bus terminals, asking strangers for help. Kwame sat up in bed, heart pounding. The next morning, he drove past the bus stop without slowing. Mama Thandeka watched his car disappear. She did not chase him. She did not call out. She simply sat back down. The image haunted him all day. The following morning, he arrived earlier than usual. Mama Thandeka was already there. "I knew you would return," she said softly. "How?" Kwame asked. "People always do," she replied, "when they remember who they used to be." From that day, everything changed. Kwame didn't just give money, he spoke with her, asked if she had eaten, asked about her leg, asked if she was well. Mama Thandeka answered politely but never invited deeper questions. She never asked his name, never asked what he did, never crossed into his life. Yet somehow he crossed into hers. And far away, unknown to him, Mama Thandeka began counting days. Not the days until her money ran out, but the days until Kwame Ndlovu would finally remember the truth. Mama Thandeka's days followed a rhythm the city never noticed. Before the sun rose fully over Lusaka, before engines and horns swallowed the quiet, she was already awake. Her room was small, tucked behind an old mechanic's yard, barely wide enough to stretch her arms. Inside were only the things she needed. A thin mattress, a wooden chair, a Bible with worn pages, and a framed photograph placed carefully near the window. Every morning, she sat on the edge of her bed and rubbed her left leg. The old injury never truly healed. Some days it burned sharply, other days it felt numb, as if it no longer belonged to her. She never complained. After tying her scarf and smoothing her dress, she knelt slowly and prayed. "God," she whispered, "thank you for another day. Give strength to the man who gives without asking, and give me patience to keep waiting." She never prayed for money, she prayed for time. By the time she reached the bus terminal, the city was waking. Vendors shouted prices. Conductors argued over passengers. Children darted between buses barefoot and laughing. Hundreds of people passed Mama Thandeka without seeing her. She never stopped them. She never begged loudly. She waited. Some mornings Kwame arrived early, other mornings traffic delayed him. But Mama Thandeka never doubted he would come. When his car slowed, she watched his face carefully, not with greed or desperation, but as if she were reading something written beneath his skin. After receiving the $10, she followed the same path. First, the pharmacy, where she bought the cheapest medicine for her blood pressure. The young pharmacist often tried to give her extra tablets. "You'll need these," the woman would say. Mama Thandeka always shook her head. Others need them too. Next came the bread stall. She bought one loaf and tore it in half. Half for now, half for later. Sometimes she shared pieces with street children who hovered nearby. They called her grandma. She never corrected them. She never told them her name. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, she went to the public hospital. Not for herself. In one of the crowded wards lay an old woman who could no longer speak. Years ago, when both had nothing, that woman had shared a sleeping mat with Mama Thandeka. Whenever she could, Mama Thandeka paid for her basic care. $10. Always 10. Meanwhile, Kwame's curiosity deepened. He noticed how Mama Thandeka never positioned herself near luxury shops, never followed wealthy strangers, never tried to increase her visibility. One morning, rain poured heavily. Kwame assumed she would not come, but she was there beneath a torn umbrella, shoes soaked, waiting. "Why are you here in this weather?" he asked, concern slipping into his voice. She smiled faintly. "Rain does not cancel waiting." Kwame laughed softly. "You're unbelievable." "No," she replied. "I am patient." That word pressed against something buried deep inside him. Over time, Kwame began bringing small extras in his car. Water, fruit. Once, a thick shawl. Mama Thandeka accepted them politely, but her posture never changed. She did not lean closer. She did not grow familiar. She did not cross into his life. Kwame crossed into hers. One afternoon, he parked the car and stepped out. People nearby froze. Some recognized him instantly. Phones appeared. Whispers spread. Mama Thandeka looked up, startled. "You shouldn't stand here," she said quickly. "People will talk." "Let them," Kwame replied. He sat beside her on the concrete block, The ground was hard and hot, but he didn't move. They sat in silence, traffic roaring behind them. "Do you have children?" he asked gently. Mama Thandika's fingers tightened around her Bible. "I had a daughter," she said after a pause. "She was braver than me. She trusted too deeply." Kwame waited. "The world was not kind to her," she added quietly. "I'm sorry," he said. "So am I," she replied. He wanted to ask more, but something stopped him. "Why do you keep waiting here?" he asked instead. "Because someone I am waiting for will pass here," she said. Kwame smiled gently. "You see hundreds of people." "Yes," she replied, "but only one matters." That night, Kwame dreamed of his mother, not as she was when she died, weak and pale, but as she was when he was a boy, laughing under the sun, holding his hand tightly as buses roared past. When he woke, his pillow was damp. The next morning, Mama Thandeka noticed immediately. "You are carrying heavy thoughts," she said. "You remind me of someone," Kwame admitted. She nodded slowly. "Most things that matter do." From that day, Kwame stopped seeing Mama Thandeka as a responsibility. He saw her as a mirror. He adjusted his schedule to ensure he never missed her. He defended her when questioned. He even instructed his driver never to disturb her if he was absent. Mama Thandeka remained unchanged, still asking for $10, still thanking him quietly, still waiting. And with every exchange, something loosened inside Kwame, a knot tied long ago by poverty, loss, and unanswered questions. He did not know what she was waiting for, but he felt it in his bones. Whatever it was drawing closer. The days that followed were heavy, but purposeful. Kwame immersed himself in work, but a different kind of work, one that required more than just numbers and contracts. He reviewed hospital policies, met with public health advocates, and listened more than he spoke. Mama Thandeka's condition improved slowly. Physical therapy eased the pain in her leg. Proper medication stabilized her blood pressure. One evening, as Kwame prepared to leave the clinic, she called him back. "Kwame," she said softly, "you still haven't asked the most important question." He frowned. "What question?" "Why I stopped waiting." Kwame froze. "You stopped waiting?" She reached into her bag and pulled out a small calendar. Several dates were circled. "My doctor told me I didn't have much time," she said calmly. "I knew I couldn't wait forever." Kwame's chest tightened. "But you're getting better." "Yes," she replied, "because you remembered." She took his hand gently. "I didn't come to stop your wedding. I came to give you peace before I left this world." Kwame's eyes filled with emotion. "You're not leaving," she smiled faintly. "We all leave. What matters is what we leave behind." That night, Kwame sat alone in his apartment, staring at the city lights. For the first time, the noise didn't overwhelm him. He thought about waiting. How some people waited for money, others for love, and some for someone to finally see them. Mama Thandeka had waited for truth. And now that it had arrived, Kwame realized something else was waiting too. Consequences. The public had praised his decision to stop the wedding. Donations poured in, but powerful people grew uneasy. Hospitals feared audits. Politicians avoided his calls. His brother, Samuel, warned him, "You're making enemies." "I'm making room," Kwame replied simply. As he prepared for sleep, his phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "The truth you uncovered goes deeper than you think. If you keep digging, be ready." Kwame stared at the screen. For the first time, he understood. Stopping the wedding had only opened a door. What lay beyond demanded courage, and he was ready. The warning haunted him. It followed him through meetings, echoed during late-night drives, and sat quietly beside him in the clinic room while Mama Thandeka rested. The next morning, Samuel called back. "The number is untraceable," he said, "but I found something else." "What?" Kwame asked. "Hospital records were altered. Multiple cases, not just your mother's." Kwame closed his eyes. "We expose it." Samuel hesitated. "This will get ugly." "It already is," Kwame replied. Across town, Joy Sherio watched the news in silence. Headlines praised Kwame's courage. "Billionaire chooses truth over wedding." Commentators called him principled, visionary, a man who chose morality over spectacle. Joy turned off the television, her stomach churning. Her phone rang. "Hello, you should be careful," a voice warned. "Your former fiancé is stirring things up." Joy stiffened. "Who is this?" "A friend," the voice replied, "and possibly your last chance to protect your future." That afternoon, Kwame returned to the bus terminal alone. Mama Tandeka's spot was empty, of course, but standing there, Kwame felt something settle inside him. He watched people pass, mothers pulling children close, men averting their eyes. He saw himself. A black sedan rolled to a stop nearby. A man stepped out, well-dressed, confident, unfamiliar. "Mr. Chibwe," he said smoothly. "My name is Paul Nambe. I represent several private healthcare investors." Kwame didn't shake his hand. "What do you want?" "To advise you," Paul said. "You're reopening old wounds." "Good," Kwame replied. Paul lowered his voice. "You're accusing institutions of negligence. People will push back." "Let them." Kwame met his gaze. Paul sighed. "Your foundation could lose support. Your businesses could face audits." Kwame shrugged. "Then they will survive scrutiny." Paul studied him for a long moment. "Your mother's case wasn't unique. If you expose everything, the system collapses." "Then it should," Kwame said. Paul shook his head slowly. "Idealism is expensive. So is silence," Kwame replied. That evening, Mama Tandeka sensed Kwame's tension. "You are carrying war inside you," she said gently. "I'm carrying responsibility," Kwame replied. She studied him. "Responsibility without rest becomes pride." Kwame sat beside her. "I don't want revenge. I want change." Mama Tandeka nodded. "Then remember who you are changing this for." The city outside buzzed with tension. Inside, Kwame felt steady. He understood now this wasn't about charity, guilt, or justice alone. This was about honor, memory, and keeping promises. The following morning, Kwame arrived at the clinic early. Mama Thandika was awake, her eyes tracing the sunlight across the ceiling. She had grown thinner, but her presence remained steady, calm, almost like a lighthouse in the storm of his life. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. "For what?" she replied, knowing the answer. "To dig deeper," Kwame said, "to find out how far the negligence went." Mama Tandeka nodded slowly. "Then let us begin." Kwame called Samuel. "I need all the hospital files you could trace, every altered record, every suspicious death certificate. We're not leaving anything unturned." By mid-morning, stacks of files filled the study. Samuel worked tirelessly, pulling documents from hospitals, archives, and old administrative logs. Patterns began to emerge: delayed admissions, unauthorized charges, and death certificates subtly altered to mask negligence. The scale was staggering. Entire wards were affected, mostly poor patients whose families could not pay upfront fees. "Look at this," Samuel said, pointing to a folder. "This is from 2012, the same pattern as your mother's case." Kwame studied the documents. Every record told the same story: promises made and broken, patients left waiting until it was too late. He could feel a familiar anger rising, but he suppressed it. He had learned from Mama Thandeka that patience and strategy mattered more than rage. By noon, Kwame called a meeting with a trusted team of journalists. He handed over copies of the documents. "The public needs to know the truth," he said. "No spin, no edits, nothing hidden." One journalist leaned forward. "Are you sure you want to do this? These hospitals have power. They could sue, they could retaliate." Kwame shook his head. "We are not doing this for headlines. We are doing this for those who cannot speak." As the news broke, the city reacted quickly. Social media exploded. Citizens demanded answers. Hospitals scrambled for explanations. Politicians avoided questions, their confidence shaken by the undeniable evidence. Meanwhile, Mama Tandeka remained at the clinic, observing quietly. A nurse whispered to her, "You've started a storm." She smiled faintly. "No, child, we are clearing the clouds." One afternoon, Kwame received a call from a hospital administrator. "Mr. Chibwe, this information, it's serious. You're exposing an entire system." Kwame's voice was steady. "Then it must be exposed. My mother waited too long. Others shouldn't have to. Outside, protests began forming, citizens marching for better healthcare and accountability. Kwame and Samuel coordinated with legal teams, ensuring the evidence was airtight. Every action he took was meticulous, precise. Then came the backlash. Threatening calls, veiled warnings, and anonymous letters. One evening, Samuel found a note slipped under the clinic door. "Stop digging, or face consequences you cannot imagine." Kwame read it carefully. He turned to Samuel. "They're scared. That's a good sign." "Or dangerous," Samuel warned. Kwame nodded. "Perhaps both, but we cannot stop." Over the next weeks, the media dug deeper. Reporters interviewed families affected by delayed treatment. Stories surfaced of children lost, mothers left to wait, and the powerless ignored. The public outrage became undeniable. Government officials had no choice but to respond. Emergency committees were formed, hospitals audited, and regulations tightened. Throughout all this, Kwame never left Mama Thandeka's side. He visited her daily, bringing food, books, and occasionally just his presence. She remained calm, guiding him, reminding him why he began this journey. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the Lusaka skyline, she said quietly, "Kwame, you've done more than I ever imagined. But remember, change does not come from anger. It comes from persistence." Kwame nodded, staring out the window. "I know, but some people, some institutions, they will resist until it hurts them." She took his hand. "Then keep walking. Don't let fear dictate your steps." That night, the city slept uneasy. Hospitals worked overtime to address audits. Politicians whispered in corridors. Journalists typed rapidly, releasing breaking stories. And Kwame, sitting in the quiet of his apartment, thought about the long road that had led him here. From a boy ashamed at a bus terminal to a man challenging a system built on silence. Mama Thandeka had given him the courage to confront not just his past, but a society that had ignored its most vulnerable. And he knew, deep in his bones, that the battle was far from over. The morning air in Lusaka was thick with tension. Word of Kwame's revelations had spread like wildfire. Citizens marched near government buildings, their chants demanding justice for families who had waited and suffered. Television crews flooded the streets. The city felt alive with purpose, yet also brittle, as though a single misstep could ignite chaos. Kwame sat in the foundation office with Samuel, their eyes scanning the latest reports. Every hospital involved had released statements, but none admitted guilt outright. Lawyers were already preparing defenses. Yet, for Kwame, this was only the beginning. "This isn't about public opinion anymore," he said. "This is about lives, and about making sure it never happens again." Samuel nodded, frowning. The power these institutions wield, they'll push back hard, threats, lawsuits, maybe worse. Kwame's jaw tightened. Let them. The truth doesn't bend. We just have to be ready. At the clinic, Mama Thandeka watched quietly, her hands folded in her lap. "Kwame, you are not alone in this," she said softly. "Remember, those who are afraid of change will strike first. Keep your heart steady." Kwame exhaled slowly. "I can't just sit by. Not anymore. I have to make this right for her, for everyone like her." By midday, the first confrontations began. Representatives from the largest hospitals requested emergency meetings with Kwame. Their tone was polite, but beneath the civility simmered warnings. "Mr. Chibwe," one said, "your accusations could ruin reputations, destroy livelihoods. Are you prepared for the fallout?" Kwame leaned forward. "I am prepared to do what is right. That is all I am prepared for." Across the city, journalists uncovered more evidence. Leaked emails, internal memos, and witness testimonies painted a grim picture of neglect and systemic corruption. Families of victims came forward, telling stories of mothers, fathers, and children left to wait, ignored or turned away. The public outcry intensified. One evening, as Kwame returned to the clinic, a black SUV followed him slowly down Cairo Road. He noticed it, but did not panic. Mama Thandeka, seated by the window, looked up. "They are watching," she said calmly. Kwame parked, stepping out with measured caution. The SUV slowed, then sped off. He exhaled. "They're testing me," he muttered. That night, the boardroom at his foundation was filled with maps, documents, and a growing team of lawyers and investigators. Samuel pointed to a chart. "The delays, the altered records, even the admissions. There's a pattern spanning over a decade. This is massive." Kwame traced his finger along the lines. "It's more than a hospital issue. It's a system issue, and we're going to fix it, piece by piece." Meanwhile, Mama Thandika's health had improved enough that she could take short walks outside. Kwame walked beside her, guiding her carefully along the pavement. Children waved at her from nearby homes. She waved back, serene. "You know," she said softly, "I never thought I would see this day." Kwame shook his head. "Neither did I. But it's happening, and it's because of you." She smiled faintly. "No, Kwame, it's because you remembered who you were. The boy who once stood ashamed at a bus terminal. He grew up. Days passed. The first legal suits against negligent hospitals were filed. Investigations were underway. Government officials could no longer ignore the crisis. Newspapers ran front-page stories. Kwame's face was everywhere, not as a billionaire playboy, but as a man demanding accountability. Yet, amid the storm, Mama Thandeka remained his anchor. Each morning, she reminded him, "Change takes time. Don't let impatience undo your progress." One afternoon, Kwame received a call from a prominent politician. "Mr. Chibwe, we need to talk. Public sentiment is intense. Hospitals are panicking. Some are even threatening strikes. Can we find a compromise?" Kwame's eyes narrowed. "Compromise? This is about lives, not convenience. We will not negotiate justice." By evening, news crews gathered outside the foundation office. Kwame stepped out to address them, Mama Thandeka by his side. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. He raised his hand for silence. "For too long, the vulnerable have waited in silence. Today we begin correcting that, not just for my mother, not just for those families, but for every person who deserves timely, humane care. We will hold hospitals accountable, reform systems, and ensure this never happens again. Silence ends now." The crowd erupted in applause. Kwame's words echoed across streets, over social media, and into the hearts of citizens. Mama Thandeka squeezed his hand. "You're doing more than you know," she said. Kwame looked at her, his resolve solidifying. "No, Mama. We're just beginning." The city of Lusaka was alive with murmurs of change. Kwame's foundation had become a beacon, not just for those wronged by hospitals, but for anyone who had felt powerless in the face of injustice. People lined the streets outside clinics, waving banners, sharing stories of delayed treatment and forgotten pleas. Kwame, once known for his wealth, was now recognized for his integrity. Inside the foundation office, Kwame and Samuel worked tirelessly. Each day brought new cases, new families seeking help, new reports that needed attention. The scale was overwhelming. But for the first time, Kwame felt purpose heavier than any business deal or boardroom victory. "Kwame," Samuel said one afternoon, pushing a thick folder across the table. "We've tracked hospital negligence going back 15 years. There are patterns, names, and even cover-ups we can't ignore, but it's enough to bring a full systemic reform." Kwame leaned back, fingers pressing against his forehead. "This is bigger than I imagined, but it's the truth. And truth doesn't wait for convenience." Mama Thandeka, now stronger, visited daily. She had become the soul of the initiative, gently guiding Kwame through moments of exhaustion and doubt. "Don't forget, child," she said one morning, her voice soft, but firm. "It's not about punishment, it's about rebuilding trust. Change heals when it's patient." Meanwhile, public support had grown exponentially. People donated time, money, and expertise. Volunteers assisted with paperwork, medical advocacy, and community outreach. Stories of Kwame's intervention reached even the most remote parts of Zambia, inspiring similar initiatives across neighboring regions. In one evening, as the sun dipped behind Lusaka's skyline, Kwame stood outside the foundation with Mama Thandeka. The air was quiet, punctuated only by distant horns and children's laughter. "You have done more than you imagined," she said, eyes glistening. "But the world is watching now. Some will support, some will resist. Are you ready for that?" Kwame smiled faintly, hand steady on hers. "I've waited my whole life for a chance to make this right. I won't step back now." The next morning, the first wave of hospital reforms went into effect. Policies were rewritten, accountability boards established, and training programs implemented for staff. Media coverage highlighted both progress and remaining challenges. Hospitals that resisted faced public scrutiny and sanctions. Slowly, the system began to bend under pressure, yielding to transparency. Kwame's life had shifted completely. The wealth he once flaunted now served a purpose, not a spectacle. Yet he never sought attention. Each success, each reform was quietly measured in human lives restored, in families no longer left to wait and suffer. Mama Thandeka continued to guide him, her presence a constant reminder of patience, dignity, and moral clarity. Occasionally, she would smile at him, reminding him of the bus terminal where it all began, of the $10 that symbolized memory, justice, and the spark of compassion that could change everything. Months later, a gala was held at the foundation, honoring families, volunteers, and staff who had contributed to the transformation. Kwame spoke from the podium, eyes scanning the crowd. "This is not about me. It is about every mother, every child, every person who waited silently and deserved to be seen. Change is never easy, and it is never immediate. But it is possible when we act with courage and integrity." In the corner, Mama Thandeka sat quietly, smiling faintly. She had kept her promise not just to Kwame, but to the memory of his mother. The boy who once stood ashamed at a bus terminal had grown into a man who demanded justice and upheld truth, not for fame, not for wealth, but for humanity. As the evening waned, Kwame walked to the empty street outside, reflecting on the journey. Messages of gratitude, stories of healed families, and letters of support filled his thoughts. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed, a mother hugged her son, a life quietly changed. He knew this was only the beginning. Truth, once found, had to be nurtured. Legacy, once embraced, had to be honored. And for Kwame Chibwe, the boy who once handed $10 to a woman in need, the lessons of patience, courage, and empathy would guide him for the rest of his life. Mama Thandeka placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember, Kwame, the world is changed by those who remember where they came from. You have done that." Kwame nodded. For the first time, he truly believed it. The city of Lusaka, the lives he touched, the reforms he championed. All of it was proof that a single act of recognition, a simple act of patience and kindness, could ripple outward and transform everything. Outside, the night fell softly, full of possibility. And Kwame Chibwe, guided by the memory of his mother and the wisdom of Mama Thandeka, walked forward with a clarity he had never known. That truth, courage, and humanity were the most enduring legacies of all. And that was the story of how truth, patience, and kindness can change lives in ways we never expect. Sometimes the smallest gestures, like $10, a smile, or simply being present, can leave a mark far bigger than wealth, power, or fame. Remember, the people we meet, the choices we make, and the courage to face the truth can shape not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of hope, destiny, and the unexpected ways life teaches us the most important lessons. Drop a heart in comment, like, and subscribe my channel. And visit my channel for more interesting story videos.